Water is fast becoming a globalized corporate industry, not unlike oil. Experts say that drinkable, clean water is quickly becoming very scarce. Corporate America is taking notice. Blue chip names are investing in the water business, and now nanotech companies are getting into the game to try and solve what some are calling an impending water crisis. We're joined by Mark Modzalewski. How's that?
That's pretty darn good.
He's in nanodynamics, and he's an advisor to Lux Research. We've seen such great things, applications for nano. If nano could actually solve this problem, it wouldn't have to do anything else to be an incredible step forward for everybody, right?
Yeah, it's one of the few, though, with all the hype around nano, which admittedly there's quite a bit.
This might actually work,
yeah,
right?
We're actually, there's a reason why it works. I mean, dealing with water is dealing with just a few simple issues. It's being able to detect things like the pathogens and problems that might be in water, which nanotech is on the route to do. It's things like materials to make sure there's not leaks and that you can carry it. And then it's things like creating thin channels, little channels, where you can basically take a water molecule, and if you look at a water molecule and it's covered in bacteria, pathogens, whatever have you, and then force it through a channel so it just strips off the other stuff, then you just have water.
Why don't
clean
you
water.
just... sodium chloride is a huge complex. Why not make something small enough to just get rid of the sodium chloride and just desalinate any water you need?
Well, desalination is actually a big area they're looking at. I mean, GE is sort of a king in that field.
Who is that?
GE, General Electric, your
corporate
parent,
yes,
that little
yes,
company,
yes,
as is Siemens and others. And so they're looking at actually desalination as a big one. Because, I mean, when you look at the amount of water on the Earth, even though the Earth is, 2/3 water, we only have 0.6% is actually drinkable, accessible water. So if we could actually turn some of the major bodies of seawater into some drinkable water, even water that we could use for agriculture, chip making, things like that, it'd be a huge benefit.
Well, go ahead.
Why do we need nano? We've got the whole Outer Banks of North Carolina depends on reverse osmosis. It works fine for them. It's off-the-shelf technology, or pretty off-the-shelf technology.
Yeah.
Why are you reinventing the wheel?
Reverse osmosis is about a 40-year-old technology. It's actually very expensive. It takes a ton of energy to do it. About 40% of the cost is the actual electricity to run it and to force it through. And being able to do it with lower pressure is going to save a lot of money. And especially you look at it right now, it's little areas that are being affected. You're talking about having to do continents that are potentially running out of water in the future. So you need more inexpensive ways of doing it.
Can somebody actually do it?
There's actually a company called Nanomagnetics who's working with electric fields right now that's showing that it works. On smaller scales, there's a company like Selden Labs. You can actually pour it into containers, salt water, and actually drink it as it goes through the filters. So we're getting there, but you're still probably talking 5 to 10 years before big industrialized systems.
That sounds pretty good. If you can just pour it into a little vial and it already cleans it for you.
Well, for soldiers is what they're planning at first, is to actually get into the military. So if you're in the field, you get to scoop up dirty water or salt water and...
You can buy things like that at the outdoor store right now. Shake up your water and drink it out of the stream.
Yeah, a lot of times they have iodine and things like that, and it tastes pretty nasty. The thought is that you can go on the go and actually have good water.
Are people making money at this stuff? I mean, every time I hear these words like nanotech, which I don't even know what that means, by the way, just full disclosure here. But
plain what happens.
Charlie, it's a normal progression of engineering and physics to where we are right now.
A couple more shows, Joe.
We're together on that. I don't like these fancy names.
Can you make money at this stuff?
Yeah, there are companies actually making money on it, and one of the earlier...
You say actually, that sounds like...
Well, it's
doesn't really sound like...
We've been able to actually see things at the scale of atoms and molecules for only about 20 years, so the fact that anyone's making money on it already is actually a pretty good thing. But right now, it's things like materials, it's stain-free clothing. Nanopants is a big one.
Right.
What are nanopants?
Stain-free pants.
Yeah, you can spill tomato sauce.
Really fit.
And it wipes right out. It's actually pretty good.
I shop at Brooks Brothers.
Brooks Brothers sells them, and Brooks Brothers ties.
You can't sweat through them either. It's a stretch to liken it to oil, I think. We will solve this problem with water. There's plenty of water. We'll solve this problem without...
You don't need oil. You need water.
Why not? But this is something technologically. We're going to be able to solve this. I don't know how we're going to replace hydrocarbons. I mean, that's a tough one to figure out. That's going to take a huge amount of money, and it doesn't seem like we're really facing the problem. With water, we're going to solve this before it becomes an oil problem.
Completely.
Yeah, you're thinking that it'll just generally happen. I mean, there's already a billion people without it. 80% of the diseases are tied to water being bad, and we're still making more people, and we're still using more. It takes
Speak for yourself.
100,000 gallons to make a car.
How about pure water plays? You got some for us?
1,000 gallons of water to make a car, huh?
It's 100,000 gallons.
How
over
can we
to
make
a
money on
car.
it?
How can you make money on it? I think look at some right now. I think the best one is to look at the infrastructure companies, both and the ones who supply them. A company like Pentair that actually has filters is a good one to look
It's
at.
the last one that's still single, right?
Yeah, just about. Kuno just got bought out by 3M.
The dog.
Yeah.
GE has been making a lot of that.
GE got Ionics and a bunch of others recently. Yeah. So I mean, they're all getting bought out. That's one of the few newer ones. And then I think it's probably waiting for this next round of nanotech IPOs, which will probably be next summer, where some of the nanomaterial companies go public.
Next summer, we're going to see a bunch of IPOs?
It's going to depend on the environment. You know, so when's the environment for IPOs going to actually take risk? And, you know, the nanotech companies are going to require that.
Well, how did the first string go along? We've already had one sort of wave of them, right?
Well, not really. A couple snuck out right before, during the dot-com craze, and everyone else has kind of like pulled back.
Had they? Because, I mean, there were so many names. That were a lot filed. I guess maybe I'm wrong in thinking a lot of them came.
Well, people like to talk about them a lot, but they actually never actually happened.
Which .coms involved?
Don't we need a do not try this at home warning on this thing, that this is a really dangerous place to get into if you're an investor?
I think it's like anything. I mean, if you were going to be in biotech in the early 80s, it was a pretty risky area to be in, but some of the early ones like Genentech and Amgen are the only ones that are still decent companies.
Doesn't Merrill have something, an index, or is it an
Merrill
ETF?
Merrill and Soundview both have water indexes that are up pretty well.
What about a nanotech index?
Merrill has a nanotech index. Lux has a nanotech index.
How's that
There's
done
like three.
over the last year?
Over the last several years, they're good. Over the last year, it's just barely ahead of the market.
It is?
Yeah, just barely.
But it's ahead of the market.
Yeah, just barely.
Yeah, you're right. That didn't say much. All right, Mark, thanks.
Down less.
Yeah, right. Leper with the most fingers. Mark Modzelewski of Nanodynamics, an advisor to Lux Research. That's one to remember. Got that from the two Jakes. It's the only thing good about that movie. Coming up, more on the troubled airlines. Will the industry...